A lot of coffee. There's a lot of late nights at Gotham Police Department. And
So take us through some of the characters then. Even in the cells there, you mentioned those. Maybe who all do we have locked up right now?
There's a lot of storylines going on here. We've got sort of the Anarchy. He's the teenage supervillain.
Okay.
And he's competing against the sort of the organized old crime boss of Scarface, who's over in interrogation on the other side. And so we've got all of these sort of the anarchists over here, and we've got the wise guys gang over there, and they're not supposed to be together. And so of course there's some problems with some rough characters fighting and sort of being separated into different cells. And it's it seems chaotic. This is, I guess, pretty typical for police department in Gotham. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on, a lot of cool furniture pieces. That's something I really enjoyed building. A lot of with these vignettes, you can have lots of cool desks. You can put a lot of things on the desks, and you can just have a lot of cool characters. We've got Harvey Bullock and Renee Montoya, two of the most famous Gotham police detectives. And Harvey's kind of a slob, so his desk is very messy. But one of my favorite details is he has a little golden trophy hidden in there. So he was a great detective at a time. He's just kind of thrown himself off now. And then, of course, Montoya, she's very straight-laced. She supports Batman. She's got a little Batman teddy bear there. Bullock, he doesn't. He's trying to find out who Batman is. He's ruled out some names. Obviously not Bruce Wayne. That doesn't make any sense. But it could be Bigfoot.
He'll get there eventually.
He's narrowing it down.
I love what's happening with this police officer over here.
Yeah, he's maybe trying too hard. He's got too many stuff. He's going to spill his coffee, and, that's a horrible thing. So... but his buddy, he's watching out for him. He's not helping, but he's watching out. Yeah.
And you mentioned the furniture, so even like these filing cabinets back here, you've got them kind of stuff on top, half open back there. It really gives a sense of like movement and character in the build.
Yeah, I'm always trying to include just little story beats, and especially something where there's so many characters going on. You just want there always to be something interesting. Always want to seem like a lived-in space. We've got like the copier machine going on. The cute little coffee machine with the sugars, the no smoking sign that is not being followed, of course. Again, little character beats to just sort of show personalities from the people.
One of the subtle things with this build is even the lights you included. You don't notice it at first, but then as you look closer, you see the little lamps there and the bigger lamp over kind of the desk area as people are being checked in.
Yeah, there's a ton of lighting in here. I'm really excited to see this at Chicago when we have the World of Lights because it looks really cool. And actually one of the most notable things about the lights is a lot of these windows on the exterior are lit up, and so it really creates sort of a lived-in space. But yeah, lots of lighting. It's all life lights. There's even lighting on the bottom of the build where there's a parking garage because it's so big it needs a parking garage. It's one of those builds. Just lots of details for that.
That's fantastic, and I also love what you did with kind of like the girders almost here and like the black pieces. What types of pieces did you use to create that look?
Yeah, so I really wanted this sort of wrought iron look to the build. These uses a lot of these new quarter Technic gear pieces or curves. They're very annoying to work with if you're not using Technic because the math doesn't really line up so nicely, but they look really cool. So once you just get enough cool looking black pieces together, it sort of looks fancy and Victorian, and that's kind of what you're going for.
That's a little pro tip there. Just stick enough cool looking black pieces together and you get the look.
Yeah, if you put enough pieces together, something will happen. I mean, we don't know if it'll be good, but it'll happen.
Well, I love this whole section, but there's also so much more to look at as we go around the corner. So talk about kind of exterior details and the aesthetic that you went for on the outside.
Yeah, so this is my largest superhero build ever. I kind of regret making it so big. It uses a lot of these ingots. These are pearl dark gray ingots. So it's a very rare color, and it's not really used in anything substantial aside from these ingots, which I've finally been able to get from bricks and pieces and stuff. But yeah, it uses lots of really cool ingots, and it just creates this really cool, unique color scheme for the exterior, which is why I liked building it. I didn't like acquiring the parts to build it. But it just continues on with this full back section. We have this giant hallway, which has a really cool-looking vending machine. I don't know if you can see it particularly well, but maybe I can pull this side off. But it has a nice little vending machine, a cute little janitor who's rocking out to some music and singing to his mop, and and some maybe not so nice cops kind of talking to one of their maybe mafia informants, and maybe they're not like how he's informing them. So
This is where all the backroom stuff takes place.
the backroom stuff. We've got of course, we have the inventory in hall for the police department, so it has lots of crazy, kooky Gotham gear that they've taken from the captured foes. And we have the 2 interrogation rooms with one of them has the ventriloquist in one of the rooms, and then the other one has the brains, which is the Scarface. And the police are not too happy with Scarface. He's not talking. They don't know why. So they're trying to find out, some information. But he's not playing ball.
So when you're working on a build like this, did you plan all along to have this kind of like back section like this, or do you sometimes just add on extra if you find that there's something that works with the build?
I typically have I never do any sort of setup or mapping or anything. I just freehand everything, but I do have an idea of what I want to include. Like I know I wanted to include certain rooms and certain hallways. Where their positioning exactly ends up kind of changes, but I do always sort of have a picture of the entire piece in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, and those ingot pieces you were talking about work so well. As you look at this shot of it on the exterior here just looks spectacular and has such a Gotham City feel to it. What's the pieces underneath those like? How are those kind of held on?
They're all held on by brackets.
Okay.
So it goes ingots, brackets, brick, and then bracket ingots. And so this is by far the heaviest thing I've ever made. And I've made a 6-foot-tall tree and an 8-foot-tall wizard tent. And this thing, I can't move it by myself. So it's extremely dense. But yeah, I think it's worth it for the ingots. One of the things I like the most about them is that because they're a metallic color, they have a shimmer on them. And so you'll notice on the rooftop, I put a lot of these transparent, clear round pieces. I want to sort of give the impression of rain. I always want to be wet in Gotham. And so having that shimmer on the ingots sort of helps sell that effect.
Yeah, that's such a subtle effect with those little like 1x1 clear pieces, but it works so well.
Yeah, I think it's always important to try and achieve an atmosphere for a build, and so this has some really cool dark, wet feel to it. Just perfect for Gotham City.
That's the best way to describe Gotham City.
Dark, wet, and full of crazy people. Yeah.
So in addition to this fantastic build, you've got some other smaller DC scenes that we wanted to talk about as well. So we'll kind of go around the corner here. What are these vehicles that we have outside?
These are sort of companion pieces to this big build. Of course, I had to make a police car. I actually built this police car like 8 months before the rest of it, and I just never got around to finishing it. So, it can technically fit in the parking garage if it's, scuffing up the roof maybe. But, yeah, just a cute little police car. He's got some lights in it. It has some really nice looking, fencing in the middle to keep out the crook. But yeah, it's a cool piece. And then of course, if you make any police vehicle from Gotham, you have to make a blimp, an airship, which is iconic and, extremely useful for a police department in a city.
So many uses.
So many uses. And this uses a adventurer's Zeppelin piece, which most people might not know about. It's a very rare piece. It was from a $20 set. They would box it halfway outside the box. I've been fortunate that people keep gifting them to me because they know I love adventurers. So I just grabbed one and put some custom stickers on there and made a cute little Zeppelin.
Adventures is one of those themes that gave so many cool pieces like that. Just so much great stuff came out of that theme.
Yeah, it's a really cool theme, and this is probably the coolest and most iconic piece from the theme. And then, of course, next to it we have the reason why they would need a Zeppelin, which is, so it did pay off. It was a lot of taxpayer dollars, but it paid off. And so this is just a Man-Bat build. This was honestly like I was taking a break from building the Gotham, and I'm like, you know what, I'll just make Man-Bat today. I'll spend an hour making that. And then, of course, you have to make a Zeppelin. So, yeah, just a fun little piece. You can have Batman swinging around on it.
Yeah, get some action in the skies of Gotham City as well.
Yes, because it's never not boring in Gotham City.
And then over here, what's this kind of apartment build you have?
Yeah, so this is the Riddler's detective office. The Riddler is one of my favorite supervillains. I really like him. And I really like he had a really short period of time in the comics when he just became a private eye. He's like, no, I don't want to be a villain anymore. And I can do better than Batman. So this is just a little office I made a while ago. So the Riddler here is actually shown in the police department. So this is sort of a continuation the police department is. And here, he's got a case. The Joker seems to have sent him a mysterious box with Kite Man's helmet in it. I don't know. I didn't figure out the story yet. We're working on that.
Leave comments to build out the lore below.
I'll incorporate that into the next one, yeah. So this is just a nice little detective office. I just want to put a lot of cool detail in it. It was a fun build. So.
This one stands out a lot because of you got all that gray on the outside, but then so much green inside that the contrast of that just works really well.
Yeah, it's really, I use a lot of gray as a Batman builder, and so whenever I can use color, I just like throwing that in. This has one of my favorite furniture pieces, which is the Riddler's desk, because it has a little hidden feature that you can't see unless you sort of know about it. Let me see if I can grab that. So he is a supervillain. Well, he was a supervillain, so of course he has to have a little protection at the back, and some armor plating, because he's good at detecting. Maybe not what people are interested in doing to him, but
Yeah, so you build in kind of those subtle details, even things that maybe you don't see right away, but you know it's there.
Yeah, I know it's there, and that's sort of the philosophy for everything, and it's a good way to waste pieces and ultimately get something that I'm satisfied with, and I guess people would be if they knew about it.
And then what's the next build down that we have here?
Yep, so this is a one-day build. This is just Darkseid's throne. So this was sort of during the Zack Snyder cut era where everyone was excited for the release. And I'm like, okay, well, I wasn't going to build anything, and now I am, and I have to build it this weekend. So this was just a fun little throne room. Just great. I wanted to build a nice little throne for Darkseid. A little interesting bit is that it has these little feet rests, which is sort of genetic, I guess. He has a son in the comics named Orion, and he flies around in a little scooter with feet pedals like that. So I'm like, well, that'd be fun to put on a little throne room. And it's got a nice Omega symbol at the back. Uses some flex tubing to get that. Of course, Granny Goodness. She is one of the most famous Darkseid disciples. It's just a giant, mean granny with a hammer.
I can't think of anything scarier than that.
No, nothing, certainly not. And so I love building my own big figures, and so this was just a fun little one to do.
So this uses kind of the arms from the big figures, but then pretty much everything else is kind of your own custom?
Yeah, it uses some Hulk arms and I think some Overwatch hands to sort of give that. It uses Dilemma's Orange's face, so of course Evil Granny, and and then there's Desaad in purple, who's the sort of the underling of Darkseid, and then we have, of course, lots of parademons flying around. So, yeah.
And then even is that like a lava effect underneath there?
Yeah, that was so I spent like a day building this, and I'm like, well, should I do lava? Should I not? And then I'm like, okay, fine, I'll build it real quick. So I just threw together some lava real quick. And yeah, it really adds some color again because it's normally gray, but it adds some nice apocalypse theming going on. So yeah.
Fantastic figures there. And then one more build here that we'll end with. This has a whole lot to look at.
Yes. This is one of my favorite builds. This is the Suicide Squad inspired piece. So this is the last brunch of the Suicide Squad. We have Amanda Waller at the center, the leader of the squad, and she's kind of done with them. Their personality, they have a lot of things going on, especially at brunch time. And so this was really just sort of a character study piece where I wanted to get as much personality for each character included. So the backdrop is sort of a stacking of like the Suicide Squad's storage cabinets. And so each squad member has their own cabinet. They're very fun to build. Technically, there's only like a 1 brick space in between each cabinet. Okay. So I crammed as much stuff in that little brick space as I could. Again, I love using stickers, so there are about 60 million stickers on this build.
Are these all Lego Purist official stickers?
No, so most of them are. I do use a lot of like custom tiles from like Citizen Brick, so there's like a kangaroo tile in Captain Boomerang's section. But yeah, most of them are custom. I don't have a problem like cutting stickers or anything. I love just getting sort of that perfect image detailing, which you can't really get at certain scales of Lego. If you built this massive, you could get that, but not everything. So
take us through some of your other favorites then in the background there in terms of like accessories and what you were able to include.
So one of my favorite cabinet, probably, I keep changing it. My favorite one today is the Enchantress. At the back here, and so I had this custom witch character, and so sitting right in front of her is June Moon, who is the woman possessed by the witch. And so because I wanted to include both figures in there, I said, okay, well, I'll have the Enchantress sort of bending the glass coming out of her case, sort of Freddy Krueger style. Okay. And that's a great way to add her in.
And there's some kind of green glowing light coming from behind.
So there's an endless portal behind her with some lighting. Right in front of them is a really funny little bit. We have Killer Croc, who apparently really loves syrup, and so he's got a giant syrup bottle, and he's pouring all of it onto all the waffles, and he uses a cute little maple leaf sticker from a Brickheads. Yeah. Here. On the other end, we have King Shark. This is one of my more popular character builds. And, everyone loves King Shark. We don't have him as a brick figure yet, so I'm like, okay, I'll build my own. And so he uses the headpiece of a actual great white Lego shark. And then he's got some cool big arms. Let me see if I can grab him. And he also apparently likes waffles. And, he can just stomp down. He's got a lot of stickers, of course. Got a little anchor. So just lots of personality for the characters. And, the lighting is fun. Not so much to incorporate, but it was fun to add in. It's a cool piece.
And then you even got these kind of extra accessories on the outside of just the cabinets themselves.
Yeah, so because obviously this would be ridiculous to actually have a room like this. It's sort of just like an interpretation of what they would be in space. So this is very, over here they're in Arkham Asylum, so we've got sort of the wire fencing at the back. We've got the posts at the top. We've got, a little workout area, just sort of little examples of what could be a larger space for them to be in.
Yeah, and I love the sense of action even with the characters. There's the pie flying through the air to the shark's mouth over there, and even just every action. There's every character is doing something in the build.
Yeah, so I love building DC builds, and I love using the minifigures and characters. But whenever I bring everything to conventions, so I can only really use a character once, or I have to buy a duplicate.
Okay.
So I always want to make sure if I'm going to use a character, they got to be used for a really good reason, and I got to really add in some character beats and personality to them.
Well, fantastic work on all these builds. Thank you so much for taking us through each of these. It's always amazing to see what you bring to shows. Appreciate it.
Thank you.